For most people, the fashion industry is one of the stupidest things that exists in real life. At the same time, folks tend to look at the fashion industry as the largest aspiration imaginable. Popular culture portrays the industry as being a lifestyle rather than a career path. You wear these just incredible clothes and you hang out with celebrities and you attend incredibly desirable parties. You travel to these beautiful places. You sit in the front row. You get free shit. You get mountains of free shit. You model for fun sometimes. You're swarmed by the press and you get treated like you're famous even if your parents can't tell you what it is exactly that you do for a living. I mean, pop culture has done such a good job of convincing everybody that the industry is so great that people either want to be part of it really badly or they immediately jump on the defensive and go out of their way to say things like, "What a stupid bunch of people. These people are all idiots. I don't want any of this. Who would want something like this? It's so stupid. I don't want any of this. Yuck." What I like are practical things, like my fishing boat and mowing the lawn. Football. Reruns of Blue Bloods on Peacock. I like this. This is pretty nice. Lawn chairs are nice. To recap, I don't like any of this fancy, sparkly fashion things. I like my niche interests. Those are good practical interests. Oh yeah, okay, so the fashion industry is either super awesome and it's the best thing ever, or the fashion industry is so silly and it's stupid. Like these two perspectives, I don't immediately see anything super wrong with either of these takes. Though in my experience, that ultra glamorous idea of what people perceive the fashion industry to be like, it really only applies to like 50 people total. But again, popular culture has just convinced a huge number of people that for all fashion industry professionals, it's just living life like Kylie Jenner. And at the end of the day, the clothes are the central part of it. We create so much beautiful clothing. And because we're not satisfied with just that, and because we're just an extra bunch of people, we go multiple steps further and try to make everything surrounding the clothes just as beautiful. We want runway sets to be beautiful. We want graphic design to be beautiful. We want the user experience on websites to be beautiful. We want our packaging to be beautiful. We want the logos to be beautiful. We want makeup to be an art. We really do beautiful better maybe than any other industry in the world. We're really good at it. When so much of the industry really does look like this, it's hard for me to understand why the general population's imagination about the fashion industry just ends up being shit that looks like this. Fashion. I understand there are jokes. Some of these are funny. Like if there's a group of people that love the movie Zoolander, it's fashion people. And beauty, creating something that is just like, wow, how beautiful. That is such a difficult thing to achieve that when you do achieve it, the act of achieving something beautiful, if you're the photographer, the stylist, if you're one of the models that's kind of bringing the vision to life, if you're the person that designed the clothes, being a part of the process of making a final product that is so beautiful, that's a really hard thing to do. The ability to achieve that kind of becomes an aspiration in of itself, right? Not just being beautiful and hot and whatever, but the act of creating that level of beauty, that becomes the aspiration. I think that aspiration is probably what people in the industry more are focused on, much more so than the lifestyle or all of the just getting to have silly fun all the time. I think people in the industry, what we all value personally, and I mean, I'm media, so I'm not even really in the industry like that. I think all of the people I know who are in the industry in it, I think what they are the most proud of and the reason they want to stay in the industry is because they're proud of making beautiful stuff. And often, I suspect without ever really looking at the clothes, pop culture just depicts this narrative that no one in fashion really cares about these clothes. The only reason that anyone would care about even working in high fashion is to appear to be frequently just enjoying the perks that come along with working there and just very publicly enjoying those perks. I personally don't care at all about defending the fashion industry, and I'm certainly not trying to do some kind of hey guys, we're people too. I'm not here to do that. It's just that when the industry enforces these large, hey, I know we've looked at a lot of silly movie clips. I know that we've had a lot of fun here. This is the thesis of the video. This is what we're talking about. When popular culture reinforces these narratives for so long that the fashion industry is either super stupid and full of idiots, or it's the best thing ever and it's so good, that just sort of creates a lot of It just creates a lot of problems, and we're gonna look at what those problems actually are. Pop culture, like fashion itself, wants to tell stories. It wants to create a fantasy that people can emotionally buy into. And I mean, it's really, really easy to look at these snooty people and imagine them looking at like a Rick Owens human backpack and just be like, oh, it's fantastic, it's so good, like doing the whole like Hunger Games fashion thing.
So revolutionary, it's so bold and so brilliant.
And then they look at just normal clothes and say, look at this ghastly outfit. Are those denim blue jeans? Cristobal Balenciaga must be rolling in his grave. And we'll just take the Rick Owens human backpack. I am such a gargantuan fan of this show, this look, Rick Owens at large. I don't think anyone who has seen more than one video on this channel is confused about that. So we will use this as an example as something that like crazy, silly, rich people might like, even though Bliss wants one of these really badly. We feel this way in large part because fashion's bubble of ignorant, rich, stupid people has been rebranded by pop culture as the only solution to your normal person life problems. Like, do you feel unhappy and unloved? Oh, all of that could be fixed if you were Instagram famous and got to travel a lot and had hot friends to go out with every weekend. We all know that you cannot change a diaper while you are wearing a human backpack. So this creates two weird camps. It's either this perception that fashion people must have never had to have changed a diaper and, oh, how lucky these rich bitches are that they get to be free of this problem, or how pathetic that these stupid rich fashion people don't even know how to change a diaper. I may not be rich or hot or famous, but at least I know how to fix those problems myself. You either buy into, believe the fact that all of your problems could be solved if you could just be in the fashion industry, or you are part of the discerning, practical public that rejects it completely and will not co-sign this delusional industry. All right, wipe the slate clean, reset your brain. We're gonna now talk about fashion as an ass. But first, I gotta level with you about something. Folks, I'm gonna tell you about something. I need you, okay, okay, listen. We're shifting gears for a second. I want you to do an exercise with me, okay? Close your eyes. Now open your eyes and open a new tab on your keyboard. Go to www.patreon.com/blissfoster. Go down to whatever things involve you joining that and do all of that. Have you done it? Fantastic. Listen to me. You're going to get on the private Discord server. That's where all of the cool fashion heads are hanging out and talking about fashion literally all day long. You then get to watch exclusive episodes, the wardrobe tour. We now are, I think, up to 7 hours of wardrobe tour stuff. Not because I have like a ton of clothes, but more just because I take a fucking long time to explain why I like this certain shirt or these certain pants. But yeah, the wardrobe tour is only like halfway done. We've only done t-shirts, regular shirts, and pants. So much more to cover. Okay, I'm a little bit sweaty, but I gotta put this back on because, you know, it's my outfit. We're talking about the harm that can be done by fashion being pitched by popular culture as the ultimate secret to unlocking all happiness. The first one I have spoken about before, but it's one of my favorite things to rant and rave about, which is the Fashion Week scam. This is most common in New York Fashion Week, but boy, it happens all over the world. Even in cities that are not particularly miraculous cities. People will be brought in, brand owners will be sent messages and emails that were like, finally you can be a part of New York Fashion Week. All your dreams will come true in the shining lights of New York Fashion Week. For only $5,500, you too can participate. All right, so the whole thing about this is that the term Fashion Week is so broad that it can't be trademarked or copyrighted. So technically anyone can, I'm having Fashion Week right now, here on November 10th, Fashion Week at Bliss's house, Bliss's dad's house. They charge you $5,000, and really all that guarantees is that they have a location in probably the middle of nowhere, some sort of runway space set up, maybe even a photographer who will shoot the looks that you send out with some seats for guests. And that, of course, may look super attractive to small brands that don't have any cachet or impact yet, but it presents them with this supposed solution. Maybe a runway is the thing that I'm missing. Maybe my parents will finally respect what I do. Maybe my friends will finally think I'm cool. Maybe I'll finally get those followers I deserve if I have finally a runway show. And that promise, of course, is completely empty because while there are seats for guests that may be filled with someone, they are not filled with buyers or real legitimate international press, which are the two things that will sell you clothes and make you money. Runway shows are not meant to be something that you pump a lot of money into and then just lose that money in exchange for some Instagram photos. They are meant to be something that you pump money into as an investment to make more money. If you are not making more money that same season, you're being scammed. I do want to qualify real quick that there are a few fashion weeks that are legitimate. I mean, if we're talking about Milwaukee Fashion Week, I don't even know if that's a real thing. I bet that it is. That is not legitimate. There is no benefit of going to Milwaukee Fashion Week. But there are a few other fashion weeks other than New York, London, Milan, and Paris. There are a few on top of that that do add extra alternatives for some designers to go show in where they can get sponsorships. And like there are tons of benefits to showing in Copenhagen Fashion Week, to showing in Berlin Fashion Week. If it fits for your business, those things really could be legitimate alternatives, but there are an awful lot of companies and cities that claim to be running a fashion week that are just taking your money. That's not a complete list. There may be other fashion weeks that are perfectly legitimate. My point is, if the designers are not getting some kind of tangible benefit in exchange for their efforts and money, why would you do it? Another example, the classic, most people know about this one, model scouting at the mall. Model scouting at the mall is deeply deceptive at best. They come to you and say like, hey, do you want to be a supermodel? You know that job that isn't a job and everyone just constantly tells you you're pretty and you get to just like do your eyeliner for 2 hours every morning and they pay you? Yes, the dream, wonderful industry of modeling that is not mostly a scam. Come be a supermodel and just sit here in this chair and let me take an awful picture of you. That will be $200. Modeling isn't a dream job because people have looked at the type of work that it involves and said like, oh, I think that actually would be really cool. I sort of like the pace of that. I like to travel a lot. Like they're looking at it and saying, that's what acceptance looks like. That is what being loved feels like. And, you know, spoiler, it's not. Scammers know this, and they're really just trying to get $200 out of you. Okay, shifting gears again. This is a section that I like to call Fashion is Goofy for Real. I have got to take this off. Everybody on some level likes making fun of fashion. My gripe with that is that people are making fun of the wrong thing. Like people will like take stuff that actually, if you would take like more than 8 seconds to look at it, like stuff that really is pretty thought-provoking, like Rick Owens, and just be like, lol, like shoulders too big, are rich people okay? What you should be ripping on is the L'Oreal fashion show. They're using the term runway show as a way to borrow the cachet of high fashion to elevate their entirely fashion unrelated brand. The L'Oreal runway show that coincided with, but was certainly not a part of Fashion Week, was basically a concert where nothing happened. If I'm being honest, I kind of don't even understand really what the goal of the event was. Like it's clearly meant to be a runway show. The clothes that were actually in the show weren't goofy at all. They were all made by talented, well-established designers, many of whom show on the Paris calendar and made a little bit of extra cash for dressing Kendall Jenner, Eva Longoria, and Jamie Lannister. Jamie Lannister, that's kind of weird. But that wasn't even remotely the point. I mean, clearly, like runway shows aren't necessarily a fancy event. I have been to many down-to-earth, just practical, straightforward runway shows, and that's because they have a very useful and relevant industry purpose, which is to show clothing to the people who are going to end up buying and talking about it publicly. And you just want to show it to them in the most effective way possible, which is on a moving human body. At the end of the day, these are meant to be trade show events. But I mean, I guess you can just get enough seats, lights, get a big screen, celebrities, get a stage that's long enough to walk on in a world famous location. Anything can become a runway show if you believe hard enough. And this isn't something where I'm just like, oh, popular things are lame. I have praised tons of, I think, kind of uncool things for me to like on this channel. My problem with this is that it just feels unbelievably corporate. Like, this is a makeup company. How does the runway format even do anything to showcase your product? I mean, you can just kind of like imagine like all of the people who are responsible for this idea sitting around a boardroom being like, what if there's like a long stage and then like a person, one of these like people walks out wearing just like an outfit like at a runway show? I love where this is going. What if there's like dancers? How would we do it without them? Dancers, relevant. Let's do that. Wait. What if there were lips on the dress? Holy shit, we sell lipstick. That's a great idea. And wait. At the end, when she finishes walking to the end, she could take lipstick out and then put it on her actual lips. That's the product right there. That's easy. I was about to say that. That's the product right there. That's perfect. And I do get it from like the corporate side of this also. L'Oreal is one of the biggest sponsors of Paris Fashion Week. They're kind of the ones that like make it happen. And so they want something that is a brand specific activation that's happening during the week that draws attention to them. But it really, when it's done like this, it makes it look like you, the company, don't even understand what it is that you're sponsoring. But I have no doubt that if you were just an average person witnessing this event, the sheen created by high production value and Kendall Jenner probably did have you walking away with maybe some sort of positive feelings about L'Oreal. I don't know. And some of these brands have no reason to be showing at all, but then they do show and it becomes such a high production thing that it sort of eclipses what a real runway show is even supposed to be in the first place. Like such as, for example, the Victoria's Secret fashion show, which honestly, jail for the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Straight to jail. I mean, this used to be all about showing ugly slave-made underwear worn by the most unrealistically just hot models in the world. And they just put them in these gimmicks like giant angel wings or like these high school theater costumes. Or sometimes there's these, if you're anywhere close to, like if you're in your mid-30s, you for sure saw the rollout for this, the $1 million bra, folks. Wow. Like, oh, if only I, as a straight man, will ever have the privilege of attempting to unhook $1 million bra. It worked almost too well at convincing the public that Victoria's Secret, a mall brand, a fast fashion company, is somehow just the peak of luxury. But now Victoria's Secret has rebranded into this inclusive brand after years of backlash for their literally unachievable body standard reinforcements. And I am all for inclusivity. I think that that is great. There should be more inclusivity. But that very same inclusivity in the Victoria's Secret runway show has made it harder to ignore that the entire brand was built on the idea of being hot, skinny, rich, and famous. Victoria's Secret took all of the fringe benefits that people think the fashion industry is all about and made that the aspiration of the brand. Well, by contrast, Rick Owens is over here giving us aspirations about being unique, being defiant, and being proud of yourself the way that you are. Victoria's Secret is just promising you that if you wear their slave-made underwear at your day job, that you will somehow be closer to one of these models. And now that they're embracing other bodies, this gross illusion kind of falls apart because so much of their idealized vision was dependent on just being white, thin, attractive, and wealthy, and super tall. Shifting gears again, Tyra Banks' America's Next Top Model is on the cornier side of what we're discussing today. I too am aware of...
I was rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! How dare you!
But what I love about this is that as a part of pop culture is that it takes the straightforward act of walking in a runway show and turns it into walking down a building, being hit with a gong, walking on water inside of a bubble. This idea that you can be from any walk of life and still be a model if you can manage to not be pushed off the runway by a gong is pretty harmless. Like, it makes fun for television, but in case it's not abundantly obvious, unless we're talking about a uniquely crazy show, this dynamic was only created to give the audience a sense of increased stake in the action of walking. It's just walking. I mean, the biggest challenge that someone would ever realistically face while they're walking in 99.99% of all runway shows is just that their shoes don't fit or something about the outfit makes it hard to walk. And then they end up tripping and then they either carry the shoes with them in their hands or they just put them back on and keep walking. I cannot argue that fashion does not put too much emphasis on being hot, skinny, rich, tall. The fashion industry is full of lots of shallow people, and that shallowness does come out in our work sometimes. That's a true thing. But there is also so much more than that. And the current most successful fashion designers really don't focus on those aspirations specifically. In fact, I would even go as far as to say that the fashion industry has internally critiqued itself on those exact issues for such a long time that as a fashion audience, we've begun to find the tropes of you have to be rich and you have to be hot and you have to be tall. And we find those things really gross. No one wants to design using that approach exclusively. High fashion usually creates aspirations that you didn't even know that you wanted. I mean, we revel in things being a little more complicated. Like a great example is how Loewe, Jonathan Anderson's Loewe, takes certain concepts like the idea of inner peace, connecting with nature in a deeply digital world that we live in, and living without any sense of overwhelming stress, and shows us through clothes how deeply aspirational it is to realize those things coming about in your own life. Now, of course, if we cynically want to break this down, inner peace might be a component of being wealthy, but Jonathan Anderson isn't sending $1 million encrusted bra down the runway. And I just to say, models falling in the middle of runway shows is not that big of a deal. I think the general popular culture depiction of this is that it's like, if you fall, that is the most humiliating thing, you fucking idiot. But my experience with that mostly is that people are perfectly willing to help these girls and make sure that they're okay. There have been some clips that go online where someone is kind of deer in the headlights, sort of frozen. I think that's mostly because of the production, when it's this crazy stage thing and you know that the brand is spending a lot of money to film this, someone coming out onto the runway and just doing a thing, you want to make sure it's really needed in order to interrupt the video that can only be filmed one time. But for the most part, I think people generally are willing to help and willing to they'll scoot over and let the model sit in their chair to refigure out their shoe or whatever. People are regular people. I can't believe that has to be said. People are regular people. But yeah, I mean, it probably would be this horrific thing if you believe that the entire room is populated exclusively by elitist assholes who won't even take off their sunglasses, let alone help someone who is injured. I guess I'm just sort of confused about why the general public does not want the offerings of the fashion industry in a hypothetical way, not for purchasing, just to enjoy it. Why they don't want that thing and they do want all of these other things. I don't know, the bitchiness of rich people and all of the baggage and all of the weird stuff around everything, that doesn't prevent people from enjoying paintings or from enjoying movies. Why does that prevent everybody from enjoying fashion? There's a lot of beautiful stuff back here. Do you really not just want to enjoy this in a hypothetical way? That's how we enjoy it too. We're not, people who are part of the media, people who work at these fashion houses, we don't buy clothes all the time. And we're so grossed out by fast fashion that most of our clothes are falling apart because we buy just a handful of clothes per year and we keep them until they literally don't function anymore. I don't know. Do whatever you want. It's not I'm not trying to defend this oh, you've hurt our feelings so bad and you need to stop and apologize. But it's just there really is beautiful stuff back here. If you want to enjoy it, it's here anytime you want it. I'd like to think that that's what this channel is about. Just enjoying this as an art form and really appreciating the nuances of what these people are doing as artists. That's what we try to do every week. I love you all a lot. I've screamed myself hoarse doing this episode. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.